welcome to Clock In with Lynn. Hey, y'all. Happy Friday. I am so excited. It is a holiday weekend. And yes, y'all see I got my money green on, honey, because y'all see the title, Money and Mates. So let us talk about it, y'all. I am so excited about today. How's everybody doing? Child, I got to turn my phone off. Sorry, y'all. How is everybody doing? Happy Friday. Let me turn my comments on. If you guys have any questions for us, please put it in the comments section. And I will, let's see, hold on, y'all. Be patient with your girl. Be patient with your girl. But thank y'all for clocking in with Lynn. So yes, I got the comment section going. We got everything situated. Now, y'all know I'm a little tech challenged, so you know, have a little patience for me now. Let's see. Got it. Hey. So y'all, are y'all ready for my guest for today? I know I am. I am so ready. I'm so ready. Because y'all know most of the time, most relationships, they break up because of money. So, you know, we got to talk about this. We got to fix this problem, y'all. It's a problem that needs to be fixed. So today's guest, she is a mom. She's a boss, honey. She is a real estate advisor. Please help me introduce my friend, my sorority sister, Camille Sams, y'all. Hey, you look beautiful, girl. I love that pink, girl.
You know, we got together. We got the pink and the green. So there you go.
That's right. You look so beautiful. Thank you for being here, Camille. I know you're busy. So I'm so appreciative. So I'm excited about this chat today because it is so needed in our community. And we need to talk about it. So I'll let you introduce yourself and just tell the people a little bit about what you do and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So, as you mentioned, I do wear a lot of hats. I am by trade a mortgage advisor or mortgage loan officer. Been a loan officer for.
We are frozen. Is it on my end?
20 years.
Okay, there we go. You were frozen for a little bit.
Okay, we're back. I know, exactly. I stopped. I'll just start off. I'll start again. It wasn't much. So basically, by trade, I'm a mortgage loan officer, have been so for about 20 years now. And then a few years ago, I started really branching more into renovation, construction, that type of finance, mixed use, commercial. And then I'm advancing more into development. And really, that's on the real estate side and investors, multi-unit properties, things of that nature. But really what I started to get into personally, what started to catch my attention was financial health and really understanding and financial stress, right? Because what isn't talked about a lot is how finances can stress us out, right?
Absolutely.
And it goes either end of the spectrum. It isn't necessarily just because if you have it, you don't have stress. A lot of times you hear interviews of people who have won, multi-million-dollar lotteries, and they say the stress of managing that money also brings on stress. So it really goes on both ends of the spectrum. But yeah, this is a topic that is near and dear, talking about money and mates, because it really is time that we expand that conversation. And it has, like everything else in our lives, it has evolved.
And that's one of the reasons why a lot of marriages break up. It's needed. So what do you think? How important is financial compatibility in a successful marriage? What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's different for everybody. I think that there is a conversation that needs to be had to understand what each other's roles are. So, you're going to have some relationships, and it doesn't matter who's on what side, if it's the husband, if it's the wife, if it's both wives, however the dynamic of your relationship is, whoever is the financial earner or the primary earner, then the person who is not making as much, let's say, or if there is a conversation, or we'll get to the conversation, but if there is an understanding that the other partner is going to remain home and take care of children, or maybe, care for older family members or whatever, there needs to be a conversation about that. And so that's where that compatibility comes into, because what if one person is like, well, wait a minute, how did I get stuck at home? I don't want to be the person at home. I want to still be, hustling, bustling, making my money. And so that really is where that compatibility comes from, and which is what makes the conversation vital. Because if you don't have that conversation, a lot of times we think, oh, we'll just approach that, cross that bridge when we get there. And then you get there and you find out that that bridge is narrower than what you would expected, or it's not supportive enough or something. And you're like, hold on, we were both anticipating a different type of bridge. And so by the time you get there and you start having that conversation, it might be too late. And it's time to get a different partner to cross your bridge.
Right. Why? It's so crazy, because I was just thinking, like, even when I was married, I don't remember, we didn't really talk about money, because first of all, he paid everything. He really didn't care what I made. But why do you think so many people are just scared to talk about money? Like,
I think that there's been it's private, right? It's what identifies us. It's if you don't make enough money, you're trying to impress someone. So particularly when you start off with dating, so much of the responsibility comes on the primary partner, or the person that's making the most money, if you will, to pay for the date, to, take this person out, so you're trying to impress them. And if you lead with that, and then you get into the relationship and it turns out that you can't sustain that, now you're like, oh my gosh, this person is expecting me to be this way and be that financial provider all the time. But you're not able to do that. And so I think that there becomes this stigma of smoke and mirrors. And what really needs to, it's always like, well, they won't find out. They first of all, they need to know, right? Like you need to know, because I think it really does. I think it really comes down to trying to impress the person, because I've had so many conversations, as I'm sure you have, just with girlfriends, just with friends over the years. It's not even within this context. You're just talking to people and you hear, your friend is dating some guy and, he's like, oh, I'm the superintendent of this school and I'm running this department and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And then you get into the relationship and something's like not adding up. Like, why you tell me you're going to be paying the bills, but I'm getting past due notices. And then you find out that, this person is just a teacher, which is okay.
Right.
You needed to say that at the beginning. And so I think it's the thought that comes to mind is just a peacock trying to like really be impressive, trying to show bigger feathers, trying to show themselves bigger than what they really are. Because I think that we have, particularly where we are in society right now, we're constantly looking to impress. We're trying to, the bling bling, right? The bling bling is what catches somebody else's eye. The bling bling is what we think is attractive. But at the end, honesty is really what is more attractive. And we need to get back to those basics.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you mentioned dating. So what do you think? Do you know? Because I feel like dating these days is real complicated. So do you have any tips for, and then dating is expensive. So do you have any tips for like dating on a budget? Because, going out is real expensive. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, and I think more so than ever, because we're all complaining about the price of goods are going up, right? Like
Everything is going up.
milk and bread, your basics, milk, bread, and eggs might be $100 out the door, and you one bag, So it's getting worse and worse, and so I think that we need to be sensitive to that, because you're also setting a precedence. And that's really important to understand, because if you are, when you're dating in general, right? Like you're dating to pursue someone to see if this is a relationship that's going to go into something more. And you need to really look at what your values are. Is
Mhm.
it that you're looking for somebody to be completely financially supportive of you? And if that's what you're looking for, then that's fine, right? Like that's the role that you want to play in that relationship. That's what you're looking for. But if you're willing to be in a relationship that has some compromises, that says, okay, yeah, you're paying for the majority of our outings, but maybe, there might be something that you want to do together. And let's say concert tickets, okay? Concert tickets are expensive. I mean, that could be, depending upon who you're going to go see and where you want to sit, blah, blah, blah. It could be $200, $300 a ticket,
Mm-hmm.
a basketball game, even, so things are really getting up there. And so maybe it's, you have a conversation. It's like, look, like I really want to do this. This is my favorite artist, or this is my favorite team, or something. If you can cover the ticket, I'll pay for the food. And so you could do something like that. But it also, again, it depends. I mean, if you're dating somebody that can more than cover it, then that's fine. Let them take care of it, because a lot of times people that are in that financial position that can take care of it, or they'll put it out there that they just want to take care of it, right? Go for it. That's fine.
Because I feel like too, when it dating, because everybody's talking about this whole 50-50 thing.
Mhm.
I don't believe in it. I said it. I don't believe in it. I'm not 50-50
Yeah.
doing nothing. But honestly, I don't even attract men like that. But I feel like too, and when you can tell me what your thoughts are. I feel like if you start off like that, then it's gonna go. I don't know what's going on with this computer. I feel like if you start off with that, and then it is end up starting causing problems later, because at one point you're going to be like, I don't want to do this, especially as a woman. And then a lot of times whoever makes the most money, it's like you have to figure all of that out. So what's your take on that? Like, do you think it's okay to start off with the 50-50 thing dating?
Well, I think that I agree that if you do 50-50 across the board, at some point, you're not always going to be equal,
Right.
first of all. Even if you're working at the same company or the same line of work, or you have the same income, you're not always going to be at 50-50, because at some point, somebody is going to advance. Someone is going to maybe decide that they want to be an entrepreneur. You may decide that you want to have children. So at some point, you might have to take a step back because a parent got ill. We're having more and more people who are retiring early, at an earlier age, in their 50s. And so I agree with you that I think that if you start off at a completely 50-50, then it can potentially create problems in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it really comes down to, having that conversation, having an understanding, because at some point there's going to be a give and take. There's going to be some ebb and flow. And so you have to be honest about that, because what if, let's just say, because I've come across someone in this situation.
Okay.
Where this woman was married to a man who was like I don't know, a cardiologist, cardiovascular surgeon or something like just crazy amounts of money, right? But he had I think he had his own genetic, it was some genetic problem, something that he told his wife up front, look, my days are numbered. I already know this. I'm going to make sure that the life insurance is taken care of. I'm going to make sure we have to, be really mindful of our spending. You're going to have the life. We're going to have the kids. You don't ever have to worry about working, but just understand that at some point, my body is going to deteriorate and I'm not going to be able to be the primary breadwinner, right? Mm-hmm. So that, unfortunately, that day came. Whatever it was, he had like a stroke or a heart attack or something, and he became an invalid. And he needed 24-hour care. And then when that day came, she had to switch gears and she had to become the breadwinner. Mm-hmm. Even though like he had set it up that the house was taken care of. So she, beautiful house, did not have to move out of the house. The kids went to college. Life was still comfortable, but she then had to brush off what was her little project career to, okay, this needs to become the money earner. And I think that we need to be prepared for what happens when that dynamic shifts. How do you feel in that situation?
Right. And I do believe in that. Like, of course, if that happened, I would totally take over. And that's a part of marriage.
Right.
Because I have a friend that he was saying that his mom back, and this was 50 years ago, his mom made about $80,000 and the dad made probably more. But the father completely took care of all the finances, but her money was like when they went on trips or if he got or something. So he said that it really, really worked like that. Like she used the money to take the kids school shopping and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's awesome because and then they ended up getting the house renovated. So that was the extra money from her. But for bills and everything, the husband, he wanted to, like, he was like, this is my responsibility. So a situation like that, I am absolutely for it. That's of course, that's not,
to me, that sounds like the ideal situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. What do you think about prenups? Like, everybody's kind of like, but do you think it hurts or do you think it harms the relationship or do you think it helps? Because you can go into the relationship too, like with an agreement, like, I don't know. I just want to hear what you got to say.
So, I mean, it's all circumstantial, right? It all depends on everybody's situation. But I would say in general, I'm not in agreement with them.
Okay.
It also depends on maybe in your time in life, so if you're older and if I've already got my career established, you have your career established and we're coming together, we want to make this union, with us, this legal union, but it's understood because there's other dynamics that are involved with a prenup. And I think that's really important to understand and address, particularly when you're advanced in age. Because when you're coming together, there might be a blended family. You could have each side may already have inherited property. You might have adult children that you need to make sure are taken care of. And so in certain circumstances, I think it can be appropriate. Mm-hmm. But in general, when you're coming together, you're saying that this is the two of you and you're building something together. So I think that what happens is that when you sign a prenup, it becomes short-sighted to the person who walks away, I don't want to say with nothing, but who is agreeing that what yours is yours and I don't get any of that, because chances are that person is supporting that other person who is that earner who has the money in a different kind of a way, in a moral kind of a way. Mm. So let's again say, let's assume we're talking about somebody, you're marrying somebody that makes a lot of money, that is very successful, Let's say they have kids, they have young kids, they're not adult kids, they have young kids from another marriage. Well, if this person is successful and busy, when they go away or there's meetings as a stepmother, you might now be in charge of taking care of those kids. I'm not saying that there's a compensation, but you are supporting them so that they can be in their career and advance their career. So then that means that, okay, you're not going to be, I don't want to say compensated for that, but it means that there's no acknowledgement or there's no recognition, which is the same word essentially, but of the support that you have been there for them so that they could continue to grow their career. And I think that when you have a prenup, that takes that consideration out of the equation. You know? And I think given that scenario, then you then have to face other situations which are horrible of, I'm not watching your kids. You need to make sure that, you know, you've got somebody here because you're telling me that when this is all over, I walk away with what I originally had. And that's also going to make me want to work more to be able to make sure that I have, you know, that myself is taken care of, which I'm going to do anyway, depending upon the personality. But I'm not, in general, I would say I'm not a fan of it. But I think it also depends on the place where you are in your life.
Right. Because I know that some states, I know they do protect like inheritance and all of that. You don't have to have enough for that. And then, and then I guess I've always been against it as well. But I guess if we could put certain things in it to where I know I walk away, you know.
You walk away with something. It may not necessarily be half.
Right.
But you're going to walk away with, okay, you got a certain amount, you know, living, you know, stipends or whatever, a certain amount of money, because, you know, if you stay with this person for a certain number of years or, you know, whatever, then, okay, it almost kind of goes into like how a trust fund is.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, you know, is structured. So I think, I mean, I don't think it's a complicated question. There isn't really a yes or no answer. I think, you know, it's a thing of we need, and to be honest, the same thing, like you need to have these conversations, because when you have the conversation, then you get the person's motive, you know, out in the open. Because if you start talking about, well, how do you feel about a prenup? And the person's like, well, hang on a second, you know, y'all are like in retirement age or something. You kind of know, like, all right, well, maybe this person is trying to come up, or, you know, they're taking advantage of certain situations, you know, which is. But at the same time, if you're there and you're a caregiver and you're like that person's companion, then, I mean, again, you know, maybe you don't walk away with half, but I think that there should be some kind of acknowledgement of the companionship and the emotional support, because there is a value to that, to emotional support.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I did too want to ask you too, because this is tricky too. I've been talking to a lot of couples just to see like where they head lie with this. But what do you feel about separate accounts within a marriage? Should they have separate accounts together? Should they have them separately? Like, what do you think about this?
I know, right? So I think that you can have, okay, so, all right. So I think that you can have, right? Like, get my story straight, girl. I'm on record, I'm live. Ain't no deniability after this one.
Aunties and families used to always say you need to have your little secret little stash, you know, such and such. So we
Yeah, no, 100%, right? So I agree. I think that you need. I don't think it should be a secret stash, but I think that you should definitely have some money on the side. So I think that yes, you should have a joint account. You should have because when you have a joint account, then you have a better understanding of the money that's going in and out of the account, right? And that in and of itself creates its own level of transparency. You get an understanding of somebody's spending habits, which it can create problems as well if you haven't had some of these, conversations in advance. And then this person goes off and they're, running up credit card bills and they're spending all the money on, oh, baby, look, I just got this new such and such. And it's not just the women, the man could come home with some new rims or, whatever, maybe they got a sneaker fetish, whatever it is, they could be the ones as well, or the other person could be, it goes both ways. It's not just one person, spending all the money. But with that being said, it is vital that both parties, I'm not just saying, women or, the person that isn't maybe necessary, but I'll say this, for the person who is maybe making less, right? It is vital for that person to have a separate account, and that spouse can know about it, because that other account is for, I actually have a blog posting that I'm going to be putting up that I've already written. Elevist is a women's financial site. They call it an FU account, which is standing for exactly what that stands for. Right? And so theirs is more like drop the mic on your boss. I need to leave. But I reworded it and I called it a financial uprising account. Okay. You need to have something that if one day you walk into work and you just go, enough is enough. I can no longer do this. I need to just leave. I need to just pack my box, turn around, here are my keys, my security pass, and I'm out. And so you need money to be able to support you in that endeavor. You need money if you decide that you want to get an additional certification or something for your own, advancement, career advancement, or what have you. You need your own money for your own things, for the stuff that you don't need to ask to spend. You want to, have your own cash. You need to have your own cash if you decide the relationship is over. It's time for you to leave, and you need to be able to get your own place. You might have to get a new car. You might have to rent a car. However that dynamic is, you need to have that financial independence and having a separate account. And again, I'm not promoting it be private, let it be known. I'm all about the transparency, because you can't be hiding things in your closet and expect everybody to open up their doors. Absolutely. So it could be transparent, but that's understood that is your money to do as you please, when you please to do with it.
And I feel too, and like before you get into relationships or anything committed, you need to ask your partner, like, how was your relationship with money? How was money even worked in your household growing up? Because if you don't know those type of things, it can be a hot mess, because you have to talk about it. You got to have those uncomfortable conversations, because it's a must, because if not, you are absolutely doomed.
Yeah, I do want to just briefly kind of come back to something that you did mention in terms of, how did it become, these conversations become taboo? I think at the beginning, when we started getting into having, it's okay to talk about this kind of stuff, it was joking. Oh, what's a credit score, right? Like the credit score was the measurement. You got good credit? Okay, cool. We can hook up, right? Now, you need to go deeper into that. To your point, you need to get into what was the dynamic with your parents? Like, did they have a conversation? What's going to happen if, if and when we do decide to have children, are you going to be there to support me and to take care of my finances? Because if I don't already have that separate account set up, if I'm assuming that once we have children, that you're going to step up and be able, we're now going to have joint accounts or joint finances or whatever, and you're going to take care of my side of it. If you don't have those conversations, it will erode your relationship. And truth be told, it was one of the strands that unraveled and, contributed to my own marriage falling apart. Because, in hindsight, we didn't have any of those conversations. And further, I went into it coming from finance with eyes wide open. I remember when my grandfather passed away and my grandmother didn't know, life insurance. I mean, he didn't have any, but she didn't know if he had any or not. She didn't know how to pay the bill. She didn't know what this or that was, where things were. And I vowed I was not going to be that person. There was going to be transparency. I was going to know about the life insurance. We were going to have that conversation. We were going to talk about investment accounts. But what I didn't appreciate and go further with was what happens, because we were planning on having a family, what happens when I then have to stay at home because I'm taking care of the children? What happens to my bills, right? Like, my student loans? What happens to my student loans, right? What happens to my credit card bills? How am I supposed to pay those things? And those were conversations that weren't discussed. And like I said, you get to that, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And I got there, and that wasn't the bridge that I was expecting. It was a different bridge, and he was on one bridge and I was on another bridge, and eventually the ships just went in two different directions.
Right. And I know for me, the next relationship I go into, I'm gonna be upfront with it. Not a first date or whatever, but once we feel like it's kind of going somewhere and it's moving, I'm gonna ask him, like, what lifestyle do you see us having?
Absolutely.
Like, let's talk about it. I'm never going in blindly ever again, because it is too important. We have to have these conversations, y'all, like, up front. Let's do it before we even fall in love. Like,
absolutely,
all of that,
Right.
So before we get out of here, I have to ask you too. So what advice would you give, like, newlyweds? Like, what one thing that you would tell them about like managing finances or anything like that? What's your take on that? Like, any newlyweds, like, if you had somebody telling you before you got married, like, give you some type of advice, what would you say? What would be the first thing you would say?
That's a good question. I wasn't planning on that one. What kind of advice would I give? Sit down, and you got to talk about, how much you make.
Yep.
What are your goals? Are you good with where you are? Absolutely. Right? Or do you plan on making more? Are you working towards, building something bigger? Are you working on building something bigger together?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, because, this can't just be like, oh, these are my ambitions and you're just along for the ride. Then if you want to be along for the ride, then great. Then you know where you are in that carriage, right? Like, you understand your role. But yeah, I think it really just, it comes down to, you got to go beyond credit. What are the plans? What happens? I think it's like, it's kind of like a 50 Cent song, 21 questions.
Right.
And, will you still love me? Would you still love me if I didn't have all of this?
Right.
Where would I be? Where would we be?
Mm-hmm. Because that's true. That was good. And the ambition has to be there. I got to see something. I got to see it in your eyes, sparkle or something. We going somewhere.
Yeah. And that you're going somewhere together, and where's that role, and I think this is another part of the question. Where do you see that I fit in? You need to ask that question. Where do I fit in your life plans?
I love that.
That's a big one.
That's
Yeah.
a big one. Oh, that's good, Camille. Well, girl, anything else you got going on that you want to talk about before we get off of here? Anything that where can the people find you? All of that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes. So I did just launch a new website, Optimizing Your Financial Health.
Okay.
And on there is a workbook that you can purchase. And it goes through, it's a 3-step process. First is, 7 steps of really getting to financial health, budget, credit, managing your debt, that kind of stuff, your basics. And then it gets into your big picture goals. What are your retirement plans? What are your 5 to 10 year goals? How do you plan on retiring? And then you brought up the really important one is, what is your relationship with money?
Right.
What were your first lessons with money? Because to your point, you have to understand, because if you're going to ask that question, you got to understand for yourself.
Absolutely.
What is my relationship with money? What were my early money lessons? Did my parents fight? Was there like always money and I never had to ask for money? It was just always there. And then now you're on your own and you don't know how to operate. And so now you're expecting your partner to be that person to fill in the gap with your parents. All of those things will come out.
Mm-hmm. And I heard somebody say one time, which made so much sense. It's not about how much money you make. It's what you do with the money you make. Like, do you make money make money? Like, so it could be some people that are school teachers. Because I know a police officer that makes money because he invested in real estate. And I have to have you back on to talk about real estate. Because he's a police officer, and most people would think of, but he makes money with real estate because he invested early in his 20s and buying properties and buying 2 duplexes and all that stuff. So it's not really about how much money you make, it's your relationship with the money that you do make.
100%.
100%.
So
I have to have you back on. We got to talk about real estate because I tell you, that is a big one. I believe in. We need to start owning more things. And I think a lot of times people don't know how to do it. So this is one thing. That's why I wanted to talk to you about this today, because we have to start talking about money, y'all. Like we just have to, because we way behind. We way behind.
Yes, but we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
Then yes, we are going to get there. I make it in my business. So yes. So I definitely want to have you back. I'm so appreciative of you being on here today, girl. So thank you so much. And y'all heard, go to our website, do all of that. Please, y'all support. And thank you so much for being here, and have a beautiful holiday weekend, girl.
Yes, thank you. Bye.
Thank you. I love you.
Love you too.
Thank you so much, Camille. Yay! Great show, y'all. So listen, like I said, I have to have her back on here because we have to get this money thing down. I know we can do it. Okay. So we're going to continue to talk about it and get educated about it, because it is a must for us to move forward. And I'm just excited. I'm just excited about all the things coming. I hope everybody have a beautiful, blessed weekend. Y'all be safe with them firecrackers and all this craziness out here. And thank y'all for being here on Clock In with Lynn. I am so appreciative of all of you. Please don't forget to subscribe and like and share on YouTube and also on Facebook as well. Also, on this show, y'all can share it with your friends, share it with your family, all of that good stuff, because we love talking about money and mates, y'all. So have a beautiful weekend, and I will see y'all on Sunday. I do have someone coming on. She is going to be talking about women and wellness. So look out for that. I love y'all. Welcome to Clock In with Lynn.